Welcome to the Grateful Life webcast. I'm your host, Ashley Eicher. On today's show, our topic is the Over-60 Guide to a Capsule Wardrobe with our guest, Michelle Barrett. Michelle Barrett is a UK-based stylist with over 20 years of experience, having worked with top international clients in film, music, and TV. Despite the glamorous world of high fashion, she realized that true happiness doesn't come from owning more clothes, but from making thoughtful choices. This realization led her to embrace the concept of a curated capsule wardrobe, where a small, well-chosen collection brings more confidence and joy than an overflowing closet. Now, as a personal stylist in Brighton, her mission is to help individuals transform their relationship with their wardrobe, ensuring they feel great in everything they wear. She finds fulfillment in guiding clients from feeling overwhelmed to embracing a wardrobe that truly fits their lifestyle. Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. It is so good to see you.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, you have been a stylist for over 20 years. Can you share with us a brief overview of your journey in your career thus far?
So I started in 1999 looking after Enrique Iglesias, Boyzone and Westlife at a live show in London. And then I proceeded through drama, light entertainment, musicians, etc. Everyone from Katy Perry to Jerry Springer and lots in between. And then 5 years ago, I decided to, or 3 years ago, I decided to build Capsule Closet Stylist to help people build capsule wardrobes.
For anyone that's not familiar with the term capsule wardrobe, can you explain a little bit about what that is?
So I see a capsule wardrobe as a collection of clothes that mix and match easily, saving time, money, and space. It's not a particular type of clothes. It's not a specific number. It's all down to the individual, and it can be different every time.
What does your process look like when you're working with a new client? Walk us through the steps you take to help someone build a capsule wardrobe.
Okay, so the first thing is we have a discovery call where I talk to them and get to know where they're at and where their needs are. Then depending on what they buy, but if they buy the sort of premium package, we go through a colour analysis, so I send a questionnaire out to them. I get them to fill out some questions. I get them to send me some photos and I assess them. I send out a colour analysis and a style guide as well. Then while I'm doing that, I send out a Pinterest board to them as well, and I ask them to pin styles that they like on that Pinterest board, because that helps me get into their head and actually sort of work out who they are and what they like. Then we book in a wardrobe edit, which is live on Zoom, and that's for up to 2 hours, where we go through their wardrobe. I chat to them a little bit more. I can see what they've got, where the gaps are, and where they might need more help. And then I go and I shop and I look online or wherever they are, and I find pieces to actually add to that wardrobe and give them some outfit ideas as well in an ebook.
I love that. Okay, I have always wanted to have a color analysis done. Can you describe for our viewers what a color analysis is and how does that process work?
So a colour analysis is where you look at your eyes, skin and hair, and you kind of think about the depth of colour. So there's the kind of contrast, it's how dark or light your features are. Then it's about how warm or cool your features are, and then also how vibrant or muted your features are. And each of those kind of aspects then contribute to what type of colour palette will work for you. I kind of think that the traditional colour palettes that came out in the 90s kind of need updating a little bit, and sometimes people need them adapting. But essentially, it's a colour palette that suits your features best and kind of can make you look much more vibrant and full of vitality, rather than kind of drawing the colour out of your skin.
Is the color palette you're talking about from the 90s, where it was like winter, spring, summer, fall? Yes. And so you feel like for your clients, you tend to adjust that to their individual needs?
Yes, yes. Because I think one of the downsides to the colour palettes that came out in the 90s, they didn't really take into consideration particularly grey hair. And as most of my clients are over 50s, a lot of them are deciding to embrace the grey. And that's one area that I feel that they don't work very well. So I often end up swapping colours out and replacing them with colours that I think will work better.
Okay, so you've met them, you've gathered some information on the kinds of things that they like, you've done their colors, and are starting to get an idea of what their day-to-day looks like, what their lifestyle looks like. What's the next step in the process?
So once I've got done the color palette, and we've got the body type style guide as well, which identifies the styles that suit them as well. Then with the Pinterest board, I get an idea of the styles that they like, and we do the wardrobe edit. So we do the wardrobe edit live, and I meet them in person. And what I often get them to do as well is to send me anything they want to know beforehand. So if they've got any specific questions beforehand, or I get them to talk to me about where they'd like their goals to be, how they'd like their wardrobe to look. And then that's when we start to kind of put outfit ideas together, and we make suggestions in the wardrobe edit.
Well, for the ebook that you do, what all is really included in that? I love this idea of having an ebook that someone is telling me like, hey, here's the styles that look great for you and your body type and the colors. And here's some great ideas.
Yeah, so the ebook is kind of the culmination of everything above. So essentially, the ebook, it starts off where I will kind of list items that I think I suggest the client might want to add to their wardrobe. So this could be, so it will start off maybe with jackets, and then maybe it will go through to skirts and dresses. And for each section, there's a selection of options that I'm suggesting they might want to buy. So each has an image of the garment. Then there's a clickable link on it, so it takes them straight through to where they can buy the garment as well. But then I don't just do that, because I feel like that's not helping people piece that together. So at the end of that ebook, I also provide up to 35 outfit ideas made up of what they've got in their wardrobe, and also what I'm suggesting as well.
I mean, this is, okay, one, can we do this for me tomorrow? Two, for you, is this really fun? Like, do you feel like this really gives your clients kind of a guide of how to move forward? What are their responses that you typically get when they receive this ebook?
Yeah, so the whole process is quite interesting, I find, because often at the beginning with the colours, there's often lots of questions, like with the colours, because sometimes people have kind of got stuck in a way of doing things, and when you suggest other colours to them, they're like, oh, I never knew those colours worked for me. But once they get the ebook, I find it amazing, because one of the best scenarios that I have is where, you know, people's posture changes and the way they present themselves changes, and it just gives them confidence. It's why I do it. It's the reason why I do it.
Well, and to your point, I think so often, I mean, you know, growing up, there are people that like to tell you what looks good on you and what doesn't, which may or may not be correct. And so I think for people like, oh, I could never wear black, or oh, I could never wear bright pink, or oh, I could never wear this pastel. And then realizing after doing this analysis with you that they can, and it really looks gorgeous with their skin and hair color and their body type, like that boost of confidence for someone, they stand a little bit straighter. What a gift that is, that you can give this to people.
Yeah, I had a client in Australia, actually, and I was suggesting that she would suit bright red, and I knew it would look amazing on her, but it was quite a brave color to wear. And I said, just go to a shop, just try it, you know, see how you feel. And she did it, and she bought this red dress, and she wore it to a dinner party, and she sent me photos of her wearing this red dress at this dinner party, because she got so many compliments. And it was just that kind of feedback. Yeah, it's wonderful.
I don't know why, as you were telling me that, I got chills and I teared up a little bit, Michelle. Like, what are some other examples with clients that you have where they've had that transition of being like, just having so much more confidence after working with you?
Okay, I can think of two major ones. Another one was in Australia, interestingly, and she worked in a very male environment, and she'd lost her way very much. She was quite tall as well, and she wanted clothes that she felt like were great for work, but also would help her look a little bit more feminine. And we worked together. We went through the whole process. I gave her a palette. She started to kind of buy pieces for it. And she sent me a message about 6 months later saying that she had got a compliment for the first time in 10 years. And that was, yeah, that's amazing.
That is amazing. What does that mean to you as a stylist to have those moments, even 6 months later?
Yeah, it's the reason why I do it. It's the reason why I do it. It's not about, you know, it's not about pigeonholing people. It's not about trying to push people into boxes they don't feel comfortable in. It's about helping them get that confidence back and feel really good about themselves. And actually, if you curate your wardrobe and you kind of cut it down as well, it's so much easier to do that. The reason why most people it doesn't work is because they've got too much choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's obviously a lot of benefits to working with a professional like yourself. If someone wanted to find a stylist to work with, what are some of the best pieces of advice that you have in finding the right person for you?
I would say look for somebody who has at least 10 years experience in person. So I'm not talking about somebody who's just worked in one type of department store or maybe just worked online. You want somebody who's got real life experience with different types of people, different types of skin tones, body types, everything. And then in addition, ask for references, ask to see references and look at where they've worked as well. Chase it up, ask for proof of where they've worked as well.
Well, if someone wanted to do this on their own, what are some practical steps that they could take to create their own capsule wardrobe at home, even if they're not working with a stylist?
So there's a few main steps that you can take. So you can kind of look online and get a vague idea of what types of colours and styles will work for you, your body type and colouring. So you could do that. You could have a little look online. The next step is to kind of look at your lifestyle. I often say, look at what you do over a month and divide it by 100%. And that is how your wardrobe should look. So, for example, if you spend 60% of your time at work, then 60% of your wardrobe should be work related. Then, in addition, you can kind of look at the wash cycle and how often you wash clothes. And that gives you an idea of the types of numbers that you need of each item as well.
How challenging has it been for you? As you were talking, I kept thinking about it. I was like, I kind of want to live in loungewear right now, but that is not practical for my life. What kind of challenge has that been for you with clients over the last several years when a lot of people are wanting to sort of live in that world of loungewear? And like you're saying, looking at your lifestyle, if 60% of what you are doing is working, 60% of your wardrobe should be, towards a working outfits for work.
It's interesting, actually, because I've recently found almost the complete opposite to that, because we had that time through the pandemic where everybody was very much in loungewear and maybe even wearing their pajamas on the bottom and just something else on the top. But now what I found is people have sort of said, I don't want to do that anymore. And so there's almost like that athleisure, happy medium area where it's about comfortable clothes. It's a little bit like what I did with Maggie, actually. She liked these particular types of jeans, and I sent her some jeans that are super soft. So there's quite a lot around at the moment that kind of bridges that middle ground gap.
Well, how do you balance for the climate? So do you have one capsule wardrobe for winter and another one for summer? How does that work?
So again, it's down to the individual. Some people just like one capsule wardrobe for the whole year. But I usually say if you live in a seasonal climate, the best thing to do is to have a spring, summer and an autumn, winter. So what you would do is you would have one kind of wardrobe for the winter, one for the summer, but then have around 8 colours for that whole year. But what I usually suggest people do is swap around 3 colours out to transition into the next season, so that it's still, the majority of the wardrobe still blends through the whole year, but then it kind of, you've got that little bit of a change with the season as well.
Right, and I would assume that you're kind of building on some pieces, like as you're making those transitions from summer to fall, fall to winter, there's an ability to build on some pieces as well.
Yeah, and it takes a while. The thing is, it doesn't take 5 minutes. People think, oh, you should have it in 5 minutes, and actually you shouldn't. You should spend time with it. You should take your time with it.
Do you have recommendations for tools or resources someone could use, like websites or apps, to help them get started?
So I always think Pinterest is really good. If you've not used it as well, I have a video on my YouTube channel which tells you how to use Pinterest, but that could be quite good for just getting inspiration again and kind of rediscovering what you love. People get very much stuck in a rut. And then also, like, my YouTube channel's got loads of different videos on it for different subjects, and my website as well, actually.
Well, I know I kind of mentioned this, just like building from summer to fall, fall to winter, but are there some basic building blocks of a capsule wardrobe? What are the staple pieces that everyone should have that they can build around?
Okay, so I kind of don't believe in specific staples because, like I said, you could have somebody who lives in, I don't know, say Brighton, who's retired and or lives on a farm, and then you could have somebody who lives in New York and is working in a corporate job, and what they would need in their wardrobe would be entirely different. So it's more about kind of curating it to the individual rather than there being staple pieces. But what you do is you kind of look at your lifestyle and then kind of choose pieces around it. And like I say, dividing up the month works really well for that.
I love that you have a different perspective on this because I think so often the advice, at least what I've internalized as a woman over the years, is that advice is like, well, you need this particular like button down, you need this particular skirt, you need this particular thing. And it's, you know, a blanket statement as opposed to, like you're saying, individualized to the person and their lifestyle, whether you are living in middle America, you know, on a farm somewhere, or New York City or Brighton. So I love that that's the way that you approach this.
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, I get asked all the time, how many skirts should I have? How many jackets should I have? How many shirts? And I sort of throw the question back and say, what do you need? Because there is absolutely no point in me saying to somebody, I don't know, who lives in, let's say Mexico, for example, right, you're going to need a winter coat, you're going to need, you know, a raincoat or something like that. It just doesn't work. So it's more about kind of looking at what your lifestyle is and thinking of the practicalities. So essentially your wardrobe should serve you rather than you serving your wardrobe.
I mean, honestly, if I had $1 for every piece of clothing I bought because I saw it online, it was like, oh, I'm for sure going to need that one skirt at some point, and then I never actually wear it because it's not practical within my lifestyle, I'd probably be a millionaire by now. Maybe not a millionaire, but like I just think so often we get influenced by what we see as opposed to what is really right for us.
Mhm. And that's why, whether you work with somebody like me or you work with somebody else, or you kind of do some research on your line, looking at the practicalities of it is so much better because so many people have got a wardrobe full of clothes but nothing to wear. So essentially, it's about creating a wardrobe full of clothes you can wear. So it's you have to take a much more practical approach with it. And then when you see those things online or you're on holiday and you're feeling like purchasing something, you're choosing from a palette or a style that you know works for you.
Well, and things that you know that you love and that you want to wear, which is really important.
Yeah.
We've talked about adding to your wardrobe, but let's talk about downsizing. What are some guidelines we can use to help get rid of some of the clutter, you know, like me buying things I don't wear, to make our wardrobe more manageable?
So, depending on the size of your wardrobe, if you've got a huge wardrobe and you're absolutely overwhelmed with the clothes, I would suggest start chipping away from it with it bit by bit. So, you might start with belts, or you might start with hats, or maybe jackets or something. So, you start off with one thing and kind of look at it and think, you know, if something's broken or it's damaged, then obviously put it somewhere where you're either going to fix it yourself or you're going to take it to get it fixed. Then kind of look at the best quality, look at what feels best, both physically and mentally, look at the newest. So let's say you've got 10 pairs of black leggings. So you would kind of gradually filter it down by looking at the ones that you wear the most because you actually enjoy wearing them. And then the other thing that you can do as well each season is to turn the hangers around. So if you wear something at the beginning, throughout, say, like whole of spring, summer, get the hangers each time you wear it and turn it around the other way. And then by the end of the season, you can see what you've worn and what you haven't. And that will give you an idea of what you might want to declutter as well.
Well, I can imagine too, if you have something that is damaged or torn, if you're not actually going to get it fixed or repaired to wear it. Like I've done this before where something is a little bit damaged. I'm like, oh, I'll take it and get it fixed. And then I keep putting it off, and then never actually do it. And at some point it's like, let's just let that go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just that literally is kind of cluttering things up. So I'd say either fix it yourself if you can. If you can't fix it, put it somewhere which is right in front of your face so that you can't miss it every day. And you literally walk out the door with it in your hand and take it to somebody to fix it. Otherwise, remove it. And if it's something that you absolutely loved, then, you know, consider buying something similar at a later date.
How do you decide what to get rid of? Like, what are the steps? I love this example of, facing all of your clothes in one direction at the beginning of the season with the hangers and then turning the hangers around as you wear it to see like, did I actually wear this thing this season or did I not? And do I really want to keep it? But are there any other steps or tricks that you tell your clients to use to determine what to keep and what not to keep?
So yeah, it's all about kind of I think the most important things are things like fit, and something can look amazing, but if the fabric doesn't feel right on you, or let's say the color feels a bit off, or there can be lots of reasons why something doesn't feel quite right. So what I would say in those instances, I would put those items aside. And if there's something that works about them, but something that doesn't quite work, then consider replacing them at a later date. And that's why I say that capsule wardrobes don't happen overnight, because it should be a case of gradually replacing things. What you don't want to do is declutter to the point where you literally have not enough clothes to wear. It's one thing to have a wardrobe full of clothes to wear, but nothing to wear. But if you've got a wardrobe with no clothes and nothing to wear, that's a whole other thing. So just gradually replace with colours that you choose in that colour palette. So I always say choose around 8 colours. I think that works really well.
I love that these are really practical ways that someone can kind of get started just to start moving forward and figuring out what to get rid of, what to hold on to. I have found too with me, and I don't know if you see this with clients, is that there's pieces I've loved in the past and felt really great in. But then in this stage of life, like if I put them on, I'm like, I don't have the same feeling in these as I used to. I loved them at one time, but maybe in this season of life, they're no longer the right thing for me. And kind of putting those to the side to determine, do I keep these for emotional value or do I just let them go? So how do you advise clients in that way?
So what I would say is put it aside for the season. And if you haven't got it out and worn it in that season, then you probably can get rid of it. Now, if it's something that's sentimental because someone gave it to you, or, it's a family heirloom or something like that, I'm definitely not going to say to somebody they should get rid of it. You can look at options like display boxes and things like that. But if it's just something that, in the past you really enjoyed, but now kind of doesn't quite feel right, I would put it aside for like a season, then go back to it. And if at the end you don't wear it, then maybe you get rid of it then.
I think that's great. When you are downsizing, is it based on fit or style or emotional connection? Like, how do you advise people in downsizing in that way?
So it can be on all of those, all of the above. In fact, I think you should take into account all of those things. So yeah, fit is really important. Now, one of the biggest things I would say about fit, if you're working towards maybe losing weight, for example, or gaining weight, whichever way round it is, and you've got clothes that don't fit you at the moment, again, put them aside. If throughout that season you don't end up pulling them out, so don't like get rid of them straight away. I've got a client at the moment, and he keeps throwing clothes out because he's different size, and then he buys new ones, and then he goes back to that size, he has to buy them again. So just at the end of the season, if you've not got it out, then to consider getting rid of it. And if it's something that you absolutely loved, then sell it on like, Vinted or Poshmark or eBay, and actually get the funds to then replace it with something in your size that you can actually wear.
Yeah. Okay, so let's assume that you've done the decluttering. You have worked through to find like the perfect wardrobe that you love right now and just fit, style, lifestyle. How often should you reevaluate to avoid recluttering and over accumulating again?
Every time you go shopping. So literally every single time you go out, you want to be thinking of those colors and what you've got in your wardrobe. Think about what you're going to wear it with, how you're going to wear it, when you're going to wear it, and all of those things. And, and think about the cuts and the colors that work for you. So every single time you buy something, otherwise it will gradually creep up again.
So you've worked with people of all ages throughout your career. In your experience, is there any general advice that you give to someone over the age of 60 when they're updating their wardrobe?
I would say don't be afraid to express yourself. Like the lovely ladies we worked with here, both of them were really open to expressing themselves. One of the saddest things that I see, and one of the reasons why I work with that age group quite a lot, is because I find they've lost their way a little bit. They feel quite down, and there is no reason why you shouldn't be feeling your best. So use the Pinterest board to get a bit of inspiration. Be a bit brave and maybe go into a shop and just try on 3 new things you wouldn't usually try. In fact, if anybody's watching and they're in that place, I challenge you to do that now.
I do think this is so important, especially for, and we're talking a lot, I feel like, about women, but like women over 60, because I hear this from a lot of the female members in my family that are in that age group where it's just like, ugh, I just feel blah, or ugh, I just have nothing to wear. And a lot of that is because I think they're stuck in the same patterns over a long time and not looking outside of this one particular store they've always shopped at and thinking that is all that will work for them, when really there's an entire world out there of fashion that it could be really beautiful in helping them to feel more confident in who they are if we just stepped outside of that box just a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So either try sort of 3 items that you've not worn before, or go to 3 different stores. So I said recently to a lady I was talking to, and she felt quite worried about the whole thing. And I said to her, right, my challenge to you, I don't mind how long it takes. I just want you to go to 3 different stores you haven't been to before and try on something new. It doesn't matter. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to come out, but I just want you to try something new. So yeah, definitely don't get stuck in a rut and use Pinterest as a little bit of inspiration.
What are some of the common misconceptions people over 60 might have about fashion or their personal style? We've kind of let into this, but can you expand upon it?
I think that, a lot will say that you need to cut your hair. I mean, I'm not 60 yet, but I'm definitely not cutting my hair.
And your hair looks fabulous, by the way.
Thank you. But yeah, so that's one of them. And then that you can't wear certain types of cuts. You can't wear, lengths of skirts. And I think it is down to the absolute individual. If you feel confident in something, then you go for it. And I don't think you should be dressed head to toe in beige either. In fact, I've always got an adversity to it. I almost want somebody, I don't know how I express it, but I've almost got an adversity to people just wearing beige. There's no problem if you want to, but just don't think that you had to fade into the background. Do the opposite. Go out there, add some color, add some vibrancy. And also, if you see somebody else in the street who you like what they're wearing, tell them as well, because that doesn't happen enough.
100% agree. What about if people have put on a little bit of weight? Like, I know sometimes our tendency is to wear something that's more baggy because we just feel a little bit self-conscious. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah, so that's a really, really common thing that people do when they come to me. In fact, it's probably one of the most common things that I come across. So one of the worst things you can do is when you put a little bit of weight on, particularly around the tummy area, is to wear something really baggy that then hangs straight off your bust and hangs straight down, because it emphasizes that problem. So one of the best things that you could do, really, really simple kind of tips in regards to this, is kind of wear things that just skim the body. They don't have to cling to it, but don't make it super baggy. No, don't wear things that are super bulky. But on areas you're not so comfortable with and you feel a little bit conscious about, go for darker matte colors. And on areas you are confident and you feel kind of more comfortable with, go for brighter, lighter colors, maybe even slightly shiny. Add the detail where you're happy and sort of kind of darker and matter where you're not so happy.
I'm thinking about this just as a family member, like I said earlier, with women in my family who are over the age of 60 and are voicing a lot of the concerns that you're talking about right now. How can I be more encouraging to those women in my family or friends or people that I'm surrounded by to step outside the box a little bit, or just encourage them in how beautiful they are, but helping to elevate their wardrobe as well to where they do feel more confident about what they're wearing on a daily basis?
I think if they trust you and they trust your opinion, I would actually go shopping with them, go shopping in person with them, and encourage them to kind of try something new. Get them to look at Pinterest and get some inspiration again. People lose their way. I think, life and bringing up families and jobs, etc., gets in the way. And then suddenly people look and go, what happened? So I think it's never a case of becoming someone new. It's just a case of updating who you are for now. But if you've got somebody there who you trust, who will guide you and kind of encourage you, then I think that's a wonderful thing.
Are there any specific clothing styles or trends that tend to be really flattering or universally appealing on older adults?
So the one that I really like, and I think works for pretty much every type of body type and also every age group, and that's what I call the tea dress. So it's, if you can imagine the kind of 1940s style dress, V-neck, it usually comes under the bust and then gently flares out in an A-line. It kind of hides a multitude of sins, but the V-neck as well usually draws the eye down the body. And it's one of the most beautiful types of dresses. And you can dress it up for daytime or for evening as well.
I love these examples. They're really pretty.
Yeah.
Well, and people come in all shapes and sizes. What are some general tips you would give for different body types?
So essentially with body types, it's a bit like what I was talking about with the matte colours and the brighter colours. It's all about balance. So if you are, say, quite hippie and say you're a pear shape, then what you want to do is wear maybe slightly darker colours around the bottom, avoid any pockets on your hips, and anything that's too kind of detailing or flouncy, etc., around the hip area, but maybe have something interesting around your neck or your shoulders to kind of create that balance. So essentially, it's the same sort of thing. If there's an area where you are sort of slightly bigger, then you want to kind of keep that kind of more muted and not so drawing the eye to it, and then add details on the other part of the body. So it's always about balance, particularly with the female body.
Absolutely. So as we age, we may find ourselves with different levels of mobility. Have you encountered clients with limited mobility? And if so, how has that impacted their choices, how the choices that were made for their wardrobe?
Yeah, that does happen. So sometimes it's a case of wearing, shoes without laces. Maybe you have Velcro options. Elasticated waists as well on trousers and skirts can be really good, because sometimes, fiddling around, particularly if someone's got arthritis as well, fiddling around with buttons or zips can be really difficult. So yeah, I would say go for comfort as much as possible. And the other thing is as well, it's not so much related to mobility, but often kind of around the 50s, sort of 60s age group as well, particularly with women, sometimes your skin becomes more sensitive. So choosing natural fibers can make a big difference as well.
What are some examples of those natural fibers that you feel like work really well for more sensitive skin?
So like your cotton, your linen, silk, those type of fabrics. Interestingly, what I'm seeing in every age group, but particularly in the age group over 50s, I'm seeing an increase in people being allergic to sort of types of fabrics like polyester. People are actually getting irritated. I don't know whether it's something that's changing in people's skin or whether it's something that's changing the fabric itself, but that's something that you should maybe sort of be a little bit cautious of as you get older.
What about footwear? Obviously, mobility can affect choices there too. What do you recommend?
So I would say it's down to the individual, really. Like Dr. Smith, for example, she said she would wear up to 2.5-inch stilettos, which is quite unusual. But I thought that was wonderful. I was like, it's amazing. But, if you do have mobility issues, then obviously you want to make sure that your footing is going to be kind of safe and comfortable. But yeah, like Velcro shoes is one of the options that I would choose on, or even slip-on shoes as well.
Right. What have you found to be the biggest roadblocks or problems people have when they're figuring out their wardrobe?
Often it's too many clothes, too much choice. They've got literally, so what most people do is they see that there's a problem, it doesn't feel right, so they keep trying to buy stuff to replace it. That's one of the first things. So they end up then with overwhelm, too much choice. And it's really hard to create outfits when you've got too many options. So that's why the capsule wardrobe works. The second one is sort of body type issues as well, where people have maybe their bodies changed and they feel sort of, basically, 90% of the time when women come to me, particularly when women come to me, the issues that they think they've got with their shape is nowhere near what they think it is. And so it's a case of gently coaxing them out and helping them realize that anybody, any body type, whatever age you are, can all look fantastic. So often it's upset about body types and then overwhelmed with the wardrobe.
How have you found that a person's clothes and appearance affects their overall mood and confidence? I mean, I know this in my own life, but where have you seen this with your clients?
So it can absolutely make a huge difference. It completely changes someone's posture and everything. I had a client who she was in a cult until she was 32.
Wow.
She escaped and she'd never worn jeans before. She could only ever wear these particular type of color and these particular type of skirts. And I gradually kind of made these suggestions to her. And it was quite a while afterwards. She sent me some photos and images of her in a press because she wrote a book about it. And she was so excited to actually kind of have this freedom, but also guidance, so she didn't go completely crazy. So it can make all the difference, complete difference.
Are there any minor changes that you might suggest for someone that could make a really major impact on their wardrobe as they start this process?
So I would say first start decluttering. That is one of the biggest things, because kind of what you want to do is get rid of, so often you can't see the wood for the trees, or you can't see the clothes for the clothes, if that makes sense. So, so it's like too much. So start decluttering a little bit is one of the first things. Then look at color. I think if you can look at color and you pick around 8 colors to start with, it doesn't mean to say you have to stick with them for the rest of your life. But I always call them kind of 4 canvas colors, which are like neutrals, and then 4 what I call paint colors, which are your brighter colors on top. You don't have to stick to that kind of ratio, but I think just choosing a color palette helps you kind of start eliminating things from your wardrobe, and also helps you start thinking about putting outfits together as well.
Do you have any rules like this around patterns or designs?
So yeah, there's a couple of things in terms of outfits. So I always say match your accessories together. It's a really simple thing. Match belt, shoes, maybe brim on hat, bag, match those colors together. Another one, I don't know why this works, but 3-color rule in an outfit works really well. If you've got lots of patterns, that wouldn't apply. But if you're kind of putting an outfit together, 3 colors usually really works. And then the other thing with patterns is always match, if you have a pattern on a garment, always match the print of the pattern to other items in your wardrobe rather than the background of the pattern, because it's much easier to do it that way.
So if someone feels like their wardrobe is outdated, what are some practical updates that they can make?
So I would say definitely look at Pinterest, kind of get some inspiration on Pinterest. You don't, and just go into shops that you wouldn't usually go into, that you think kind of maybe are way too young or whatever. It doesn't mean to say you have to buy something there, but maybe you kind of have a look round and you probably realize that some of the stuff in that wardrobe, because things rotate all the time, you've already got at home. So then, maybe you could use Pinterest to get a little bit of inspiration to put some outfit ideas together as well. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to update and feel good about yourself.
What are some ways that someone can make their wardrobe more versatile? Like, for example, how can they make the same item feel both casual and then elegant or elevated?
Okay, so one of the best ways to do that is with accessories. So like I was talking about with those tea dresses, they could be, dressed down with a flat pair of maybe sandals in the daytime. And then in the evening, they could be dressed up with a nice pair of maybe low heels and, a clutch bag. So it's often with accessories. With patterns, it's more difficult, I think, but with a plain kind of maybe dress or skirt and blouse, that's one of the best ways to do it, is to kind of do it with the accessories. So kind of, add different accessories for whatever the occasion is.
I love that. Well, often when people go shopping, they can get a sticker shock at how expensive items can be. What do you think is worth paying a premium price for on pieces versus sticking to more affordable pieces?
So I think a lot of the basics, so like maybe T-shirts and vests, etc., or sweatshirts, that type of thing, are okay if they're kind of basics. Things that I would invest in are particularly like coats and outerwear. Now, the reason why I say that is because that particular item, whatever you choose, you will wear with a lot of other things in your wardrobe. And also it has a function. So it's not just something to look at, but it has a function, usually to keep you warm or to protect you from the weather, etc. So yeah, outerwear, I would say, is worth investing in, and also shoes as well.
Earlier, you walked us through your consultation process. What are some insights you can share from your perspective that might be helpful for a client to know so that they can prepare ahead of time?
So for the process of booking in with me?
Like,
Yeah,
how can
okay.
if you and I were going to work together, what are some things I could do to prepare ahead of time to make this the most effective session possible?
Okay, so I would say to you to have a really good think about what you want from the ultimate goal. So, where do you want it to be? What are your painful points? What is the thing that you find most difficult now? Is it choosing outfits? Is it knowing what to buy? Is it knowing what colors work for you? You know, talk to me and do a little bit of research. You know, look at kind of celebrities or people you see walking down the street and see what you like about that and make notes of it. And the other thing that quite a lot of people do as well is before the wardrobe edit, they will send me photos of them wearing different outfits from their wardrobe so that we can go through that at the beginning of the call and make the most of the time as well.
Absolutely. Well, now you've worked with a couple of Brookdale residents recently to help them with their wardrobes, and we're going to hear from both of them. But before we do, can you remind us the steps that you took with them and share with us what it was like working with Maggie?
So Maggie was absolutely wonderful. Both of the ladies were absolutely wonderful to work with. So I met her for a discovery call and we had a little chat about so I could get a gauge of what she needed, and we talked about kind of where her needs might be. Then I sent out a questionnaire which asked her for some images and asked her to fill out the questionnaire as well, because that way I could then gauge the colours and the styles that would work best for her. So I sent those two documents out. Then I also sent out a Pinterest board, which I got her to pin the styles that she liked, and she was quite liked a lot of the streetwear style actually. So I looked at that as a bit of inspiration. Then we had the wardrobe edit itself, and so I could then kind of meet Maggie in person, see what she already had, and talk to her about how where the gaps are and what we might want to do to fill in the gaps.
I love this. Okay, let's hear from Maggie.
Oh, can't wait. Nice to meet you, Maggie.
Nice to meet you.
Today it's a little bit about me getting to know you a little bit. So what would be your ultimate goal for this process?
I'm real adventurous and I love trying new things. I also want to learn more about having to adapt me to the age limit. I don't want to get too old lady or try to look like I'm trying to be a teenager.
So what would you like to learn about colours or style or anything to be able to pick things better?
Are the strong fall colors too strong for my coloring now?
Okay.
Am I going the right direction with the colors, like the pastels?
Well, actually, you'll see with the colours that I sent today, there's quite a few pastels in there, so you're absolutely right. Okay, well, that's brilliant. It's so nice to meet you today, Maggie. So is there anything in particular that you think you would like an outfit for?
Yes, there is a 40th anniversary of our building, and it's going to be a big deal.
I mean, we can have a little look through your clothes and then create some outfit ideas.
You want to come in, let's see. I like funky stuff like this. I love this dress. It's a stretchy.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I wear a lot of stripes, lots of white, lots of bright colors. Every once in a while, I will buy something like this.
Like a two-piece?
Yeah, it's like a two-piece. I wear lots of hats. We have such bad sun here, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that's great. I think I've got everything I need.
This has been really fun, Michelle.
Oh, I'm so pleased you've enjoyed it. That's the most important part.
My expectations going into this were disbelief.
Like that. I like that.
But once I realized what we were doing, I got real excited. I'm just so excited and nervous over all this stuff. It's gotten me so in a different way. Loungewear. Well, I'll be living in this. From working with Michelle, it was really nice for her direction, for new and creative ways for me to think about what I had not been wearing before.
Oh, I love it. It's so pretty. I love that.
My experience was completely new. The creativeness, the potential for me, and the fun. I view putting an outfit together now with lots of spirit of joy and excitement and what it's going to turn out.
Oh my goodness, that is so good. That outfit she wore for the 40th anniversary celebration for her community was so beautifully put together.
Yeah, and the way she was walking as well, yes. The way she was kind of presenting herself, that it's just wonderful. It's so lovely to see that. It's so lovely. Wonderful woman.
And I loved seeing her model for her friends, like doing a fashion show. That was so fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so lovely seeing all the pieces actually on her and kind of, you know, like I say, it's the posture thing as well. And she definitely was doing that. She was strutting down that hallway. It's amazing. Absolutely wonderful.
What was it like working with Dr. Smith?
So Dr. Smith, again, amazing lady. What I liked about both of these ladies, that they were really kind of excited about it, really enthusiastic, as was Dr. Smith. Now, her color palette was really, really vibrant. And what I really loved about working with Dr. Smith was the fact that she embraced that vibrancy. Some people are kind of over 60s, they kind of shy away from it. And Dr. Smith absolutely, you know, went for it full pelt. It was amazing.
Okay, let's hear from Dr. Smith.
Hi,
Yes.
Michelle. Is that you?
Yes, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I love all colors. I wear African wear, I wear Indian wear, I wear Western wear, I wear Sunday go to meeting wear.
That's amazing, and I love the fact that you explore loads of different things, because so many people get sort of quite stuck in a certain way. So the fact that you're exploring loads is wonderful in my mind. Have you ever had your colours done? So have you ever had anybody tell you which colours suit you?
I'm a winter.
You're a winter. You've been told you're a winter. Okay, great.
I am a winter.
I kind of think that most people don't fit perfectly into those categories, those kind of spring, summer, autumn, winter categories.
Yes.
So I actually tweak it a little bit more to you.
Thank you for allowing me to be one of your, I guess, models?
Yeah, well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for being up for doing it. I appreciate you being here.
Mostly, most of my dresses that are not long are styled like this.
Yes.
I like this style because of my short waist.
Wow. Wow. Look at the colors in them.
Hats.
You
I
like
hats. My mother did that to me. Hats and scarves.
I love it when people aren't afraid of sort of expressing themselves with colors and things like that. You know, it's brilliant.
I really like pink.
Mm-hmm. That color comes up a lot in your palette as well, doesn't it? That very
Yes, it sure did.
So these are all kind of your day-to-day casual bits and pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is too. It's a sweater.
Oh, that's lovely colors. That's also a lot of the colors that are in that palette. Dr. Smith, you would probably be better off with slightly stronger colors in terms of colors that would suit you.
Yes, stay away from pastels. I saw that.
Yes, because actually the colors that you've put in this palette are absolutely wonderful. They're perfect. Okay, so what I can do is I will use your current wardrobe as a bit of inspiration, plus the colors that you pinned that you liked, plus the styles, and I'll come up with different ideas. So it won't be just one style, it'll be different ideas. So you can just play around and try what you want to try, and then, you know, and see how you get on with it. So you can kind of have a bit of fun with it.
To be sure that the right style for me is wonderful to know specifically what works for you.
Oh, wow. You look great. Oh, my goodness. That is just beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And the color's just outstanding.
She listened and she understood what I was saying, and I listened and understood what she was saying, and then we brought it together and everything was moving smoothly from there. She was very attentive and she was personable, and I liked that.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. I love it.
I feel great. I feel perfectly satisfied because it's me.
Thank you, Michelle. I absolutely love it.
Michelle, that strong pink and green on Dr. Smith is so stunning. She looks so, like she just radiated.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it was kind of the posture. It was like the excitement. You could see the excitement in her wearing that outfit. Absolutely amazing. What a wonderful woman.
Well, I love that she said, I guess I'm one of your models. And then by the end, she's like tossing her scarf, like, look at me. It's just that confidence when someone feels really great about what they're wearing when they look in the mirror.
And that's what I would like for everybody.
So
that is it.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
That is it. That is what I would like for everybody. I'd love everyone to feel like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everyone is worthy of that, of feeling that way every single day. After working with these ladies, are there any additional insights that you'd like to share that may have been unique to each of them?
So I would say Maggie quite surprised me actually in the sense of the Pinterest board that she put together, because it was quite kind of street, but because she's quite tall and kind of slim, she could kind of get away with that. So I did put some quite sort of street looking pants in her palette and in her lookbook actually, which was interesting. And with Dr. Smith, it was really interesting because she wanted to go for those really vibrant, bright colours, but she was also brave enough to wear those beautiful kind of African prints. So it was a real mesh of kind of Western sort of clothes and also then those beautiful African prints as well. So both were very different, but very interesting for different ways.
Well, and I love too, we talked earlier about the common misconceptions that people have, where so often it feels like a capsule wardrobe has to be this particular white button up or this particular black skirt or this, and that your capsule wardrobe can include these beautiful, bright, vibrant colors. It doesn't have to just be neutrals.
No, exactly. But if you like the neutrals, then you can have just the neutrals. But as you can see by what these two ladies picked, it absolutely does not need, no capsule wardrobe should be the same to each person. Every single one should be different. And if I'd have worked with another 10 ladies, each one of them would have been different.
Okay, I want to transition us into audience Q&A. We had some really great questions submitted that I think are going to be really helpful for our audience. How do I adapt a capsule wardrobe for all 4 seasons?
Okay, so what I would say is have an overall wardrobe. Now, what I wouldn't do is divide your capsule wardrobe up into all 4 seasons. Some people do say that they like to do that, but I feel like that is often too overwhelming. So choose, like I say, around 8 colours for the whole capsule wardrobe. And then when it comes to say like you've chosen them in autumn, winter, when it comes to spring, summer, swap out, say 3 of those colors. So it might be, say, for example, you might swap out navy blue, burgundy, and mustard with yellow, red and turquoise, for example, something like that that's more summer, so that most of the wardrobe transitions all the way through the year, so that those layers that you need in the bit in between, like today it's been sunny in the morning, now it's about -45, you've got the layers in between those seasons and you can actually make it transition right the way through the year because most of the colours run right the way through.
What about any tips for someone who has challenges with their vision when picking out clothing?
Okay, so what I would do is stick to a simple color palette again, and try and kind of pick out just sort of, like I say, the 8 colors maybe. And then, if you need to, get somebody to give you a hand if you feel that visually impaired that you really do struggle with the colors. But try and keep it kind of quite simple so that it doesn't kind of become overwhelming and too many choices. But if you try and keep to just 3 kind of colors in a outfit, then that can be quite a good option as well.
What about some suggestions for like easy travel outfits?
Okay, so again, it depends on where you're going as well, really. Travel outfits, because if you're going to sort of Alaska or you're going to Mexico, it's going to be a big difference. But essentially, I would say, particularly for the actual traveling itself, I would go for athleisure, which is essentially comfortable leisure wear, but it looks a little bit more sophisticated. In terms of going away, think about where it is you're going. Maybe look up the temperature for that particular type of year if it's different to where you live, and kind of adapt it. What you usually most people end up doing is bringing way too much. So pack the case, or the vast majority of the case, about a week before, and then gradually take out bits that you know you've got too many multiples of. Because worst case scenario, let's say you're going to Portugal in August when it's usually sunny. If it suddenly rains, you can buy something there if you really, really have to. But most people kind of put in too much. So try and eliminate it around the week before.
Right. Or I love this idea of like planning your outfits before you go. I am notorious for overpacking. So it is always helpful for me to pack and then go through and be like, okay, do you really need this? And actually try and put some outfits together that I will wear throughout the week or for whatever is coming if I'm on vacation or traveling or whatever, as opposed to, let me just throw my entire closet into the suitcase and hope for the best.
Yeah, and a steamer works really well as well. So, obviously something that's quite good is if it's a jumpsuit or a dress, because then you don't have to think so much about what you're going to put something with. But yeah, a steamer, if you pack a steamer, then that means as well that even if you limit down things, you can still make something look good kind of last minute, a little portable steamer.
Can jeans be a part of a capsule wardrobe?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's no reason why jeans can't be part of a capsule wardrobe. What I will say is kind of a straight leg, medium waisted suits most body types better than any of the other cuts. They're just that classic sort of 501 style. I'd also go slightly darker as well, more of an indigo color jean, and let it wash down naturally. Wash them inside out on as low a setting as possible as well, and they'll last forever. But yeah, jeans can absolutely be part of a capsule wardrobe.
All right, I want to hit these next couple of questions really quickly from our audience Q&A. Someone asked, what are some outfits I can pull together quickly to go out with friends?
So I would say maybe it depends on where you're going, obviously, but I would say maybe a pair of jeans, like maybe a white shirt and a blazer, something a little bit smart casual, or one of those tea dress options as well is something really simple that suits most people. Have a lightweight linen jacket. Again, it depends on where you live and the kind of temperature, but kind of straight jeans, white shirt, a button-down shirt. It's a classic capsule style, and a navy blue blazer, for example, works every time.
What are some appropriate outfits for lounging around the house?
I think whatever you're comfortable in, quite frankly. But if you're lounging around the house, don't worry about it. Just wear whatever works for you. But some of these kind of cashmere sort of based options are beautiful now, where they kind of, you can get like hoodies and sort of wide-ish leg pants as well, based in cashmere, because they can look quite elegant, but they're also super comfortable as well.
That's great. Okay, one last question before we start to wrap this up for today. What is an appropriate length for pants and skirts?
Length?
Like how
length?
long?
Oh,
yes.
length. Oh, okay. Right, okay. So with the pants, for example, so these 3/4 length pants were quite big again recently. Now, one thing I will say about those is that if you're quite petite, they can make you look shorter. So be aware of that. Now, in regards to lengths, what I would do if you do have to have trousers or pants taken up at all is think about the shoes that you're wearing them with. So if you ever need to have them taken up, take them to the tailors, take the shoes that you're going to wear them with as well, and have them measure them to that correct length. In regards to skirts, I always think around the knee area is absolutely fine, or just above the knee. I have got clients who are well over their 60s who still wear skirts that are quite short, kind of quite high above the knee, but they do it in the winter and they wear them with quite opaque tights as well. So I'd say around the knee for skirts, or slightly higher if you're happy to wear tights and maybe sort of knee-high boots. And with trousers, definitely think about the shoes you're wearing them with so you can get them cut to the correct length.
Absolutely. Okay, we have covered so much today, from the concept of a capsule closet to specifics around choosing the right pieces, downsizing, and of course, we've seen your experience of working with two amazing women. I am sure that our viewers will be able to take so much information you've shared here today and have a whole new perspective. Michelle, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much. I've absolutely enjoyed the whole process.
Absolutely. Thank you again. All right, you can learn more about Michelle at the links you see on your screen. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Grateful Life. You can view previous episodes and keep an eye out for info on upcoming episodes at brookdale.com/webcast. This webcast will be available to watch again at any time on the Brookdale YouTube channel. Please share this with your friends, family, caregivers, or anyone else you think would find it helpful. We will see you soon.